Hey everybody, it's kind of windy and rainy and hailing out here today on the lower Columbia, so I'm hiding out in the raft to shoot this video. But I just posted an article over on Patreon. It's regarding PCB contamination in the lower Columbia and sturgeon. And the article gets into, what's the recommended amount of sturgeon that a human should eat based on this information. And I kind of get into various environmental issues as is related to once Sasquatch is acknowledged as a species, and it's the government's job to protect them, right? Like, assuming they go through the endangered species process and everything, and they're granted this, these various levels, the government agencies, regardless, are going to be responsible for managing Sasquatch populations. And what that's going to do is it's going to drive a huge push, because when the government requires something of itself like that, they throw, all of a sudden there's all the lower bureaucracies are like, oh, I gotta, do this. I gotta create the plan. I gotta manage it, because otherwise we're in trouble. We have to have this information in order to answer these questions putting forth, that somebody's putting forth to us and saying, I want to see results on this. And so it's just kind of interesting when I think about it, like in Washington here, the government is involved in wolf management, wolves coming out of the northern Cascades and kind of slowly working their way through various rural parts of Washington for traveling down towards the south, towards this area. And one of the things that I think we need to remember, when Sasquatch is acknowledged, there's going to be a lot of people coming forward saying, yeah, I had these experiences. Once that the wall of mockery, I guess you could say, once people aren't worried about being mocked and all that, then yeah, there's going to be more reports that come forward. Now, here's the thing you got to think about from there. In groups like the BFRO that curate large databases of reports, they have a process. Like, I can tell you, they have a process of immediately, like when an investigator calls somebody who put in a report to the website, from the get-go, they have methods in order to try to determine the truth of what you're saying. Basically, they assume you're a liar, and they want to, sort out, because it's Bigfoot. And so that's just that's the culture that goes along with it, because of the various psychological elements of this. But the government, while yes, say like a wildlife manager, someone like that, if they get reports on a wolf or some other species that they're monitoring, they want to determine the veracity, maybe was this a misidentification, all these things. They're going to take that into consideration. But I don't, the government, as far as like taking public comment or reports or things like that, it's not like they have a huge focus on, is this person a liar? So there's going to be like just all sorts of different things. On the one hand, there's going to be a huge explosion in the amount of information we have about this creature by the public coming forward. But on the other hand, there's going to have to be a whole different set of rules for determining, again, the veracity of those reports, because there are political elements, of course, to things like wolf monitoring and whatever, and I'm sure the government takes that into account. Is this person, they don't want wolves around, and so, like, there's different reasons why people might be, messing with the government or whatever. So yeah, that'll be interesting, but those were just some thoughts that I had where I'm like, yeah, this is one of these days when this happens, and they're actually required, the bureaucracies are required to implement management plans for these creatures, and we actually have to track them, and we actually have to listen to what people are saying in the country that they experience this, and then the government's got to figure out, like I say, the veracity of it. So all right, just my thoughts on that issue, and if you want to read more about it, go check us out on Patreon. Thanks.